Well, good morning, church. Thank you for joining us as we continue our Wednesday study. And I'll hold tradition. I know I've already said good morning, but good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're at in this. We just appreciate you coming and checking out our sermon series in Job and everything going on. And so before we get started, and we'll get this again at the end, we want to remind you that we are planning on restarting services here September 13th. That would be our first Sunday back in person. We're excited to welcome everybody back. We understand if you're not ready to come back at that point, if you're still a little nervous, we encourage you. You are more than welcome to hang out at home and wait. We will still continue uploading these services just like we did last time. Of course, it'll be a little later in the afternoon as we'll record them on Sunday at our normal meeting time, and then it'll be later that afternoon into evening before they get put up on YouTube. But we will continue to do that. It'll just be a little later like it was the first time we rolled around. So as we continue our study in Job, we pick up today at chapter 22, and we're into the final series of speeches from his friends. I know some of you are very thankful about that. We're getting ever closer to the end of our study of Job, and as I said, we're getting into these last set of speeches from Job's friends. And really, these last set of speeches are some of their final gasp in what they're trying to do and trying to prove these points that they really, to this point, as we've seen, don't have a lot of room to stand on. They've made some decent one-off points, as we've talked about in weeks past, but overall, their logic has sort of been flimsy at best. They've sort of poked and prodded at Job and tried to say that he is unrighteous and say that he is wicked without any real proof of that, and they're going to continue in that same line of thinking. And then Job's reply has been always the same, that he just doesn't feel like what's happening to him was justified. But again, we have to go back to the understanding here that they don't have any of the knowledge of the beginning of this chapter, the beginning of this book, where God and Satan have this discussion and God allows Satan to affect Job. No one knows that this is going on, so they're just sort of trying to figure out what's happening, trying to figure out what's going on, and they're all just reaching at these conclusions. Which to us, as we think about that, it should kind of warn us to the understanding being that we don't always need to reach for an answer. Sometimes the best thing we can do is wait. Wait for a better answer. Wait for something to happen. Wait for more information. Waiting, not necessarily a bad thing. I know that we struggle with it, and I'm the first one to joke about it, that we are the we want it now, drive-through generation. That's who we all are to this point. But there's something to be said for being able to wait and wait well. Wait. And so we get into these third series of speeches, and we start with Eliphaz the Temanite, who replied this in chapter 22, verse 2. It says, "Can a man be of any use to God? Can even a wise man be of use to him?" Which we pause there just for a minute and we look at verse 2, and let's just answer those questions. Can a man be of any use to God? Can even a wise man be of use to him? Which to us, that answer, that question is sort of a loaded question, because the truth is, what does God need from us as humanity? The truth is nothing. God needs nothing from us. Can man be of any use to God? Can even a wise man be of use to him? The answer to that question is yes and no. Yes, man can be useful to God because we are called as Christ followers today to share the gospel, to share the message of Jesus Christ. So in that way, we become useful. We become workers of God, servants of him, doing what he's called us to do and sharing the gospel. So can we be of any use to God? Absolutely, we can be of use to God. But does God need us to be useful? No, he doesn't. God is useful with or without us. The challenge and the change is this, are we as humanity useful without God? And the answer is simply, absolutely not. Without God, we as humanity are useless. We accomplish nothing. Think about it, folks. If everybody that claims that we are random creation, that we just happened because the right bolt of lightning hit the right puddle of water, and all of that is exactly how everything happened, what purpose is there behind anything? Right? Everybody loves to talk about reason and purpose, and if all of this is just random, there's no purpose. There's no reasoning. Which is why I believe that gives credit to the idea of the creation of God, intelligent design, God creating us in his image, creating us as humanity to do what he's called us to do. So we look at 3. Does it delight the Almighty if you're righteous? Does he profit if you perfect your behavior? Well, let's think about this, church. Does it profit God if we're righteous? Does it delight God if we're righteous? Well, we see from Scripture, absolutely it does. God is delighted in us, delighted when we are doing our best to serve Him. When we're doing our best to be more like Jesus and less like the world, it says that we are like a fragrant aroma, that our worship becomes fragrant aroma to God, that He hears the cries and the desires of His people when we are seeking to be more like Him. So does God delight? Does the Almighty delight in if we're righteous? Yes, He does. But in the same way, He's burdened when we're acting unrighteous. God is the good Father. He rejoices in the good with us, but in the same time, He will discipline when necessary. Because He's a good parent. Then at the end of 3, it says, does He profit if you perfect your behavior? Absolutely, God doesn't need or want profit. He is complete. So again, sort of a double-edged question there. The beginning half, yes, it delights God when we are righteous, but no, He doesn't profit if we perfect our behavior because He doesn't need profit. He's perfect on His own. The big thing I look at when we look at verse 2 and 3 is this, that if Eliphaz is right, about any of this, then why should anyone do anything? Because what Eliphaz is basically saying here is, well, you can't be useful to God, and God doesn't care whether or not you're righteous. Which, if that's the standpoint you want to take, then why would you do anything? Why would you even strive to be good, right? We see this later in Romans when the Romans were guilty of this as well. They were sinning more so that grace could increase, and they were told very simply, don't even think that. That's so wrong. And so Eliphaz here is basically sort of contradicting himself from the beginning because he's sort of just saying, hey, it is what it is, and what you do doesn't matter. So just let it go. And folks, that's a dangerous ploy of the world. The world today works that same way with us. The world today wants us to think that, hey, none of this stuff really matters, so just do whatever you want, because at the end of the day, we're all just dirt anyway, right? But the truth of it is that there is something after this physical life. And unfortunately, people listen to these lies all the time about just do what you want. Just live your life and be happy and everything's going to be okay. And people believe those lies until it's too late. And Eliphaz here is dangerously walking that line with Job. And he kind of gets into it as he continues into 22. He says, does he correct you and take you to court because of your piety? Isn't your wickedness abundant? And then he goes in and just rips at Job with unfounded accusations here, where he talks about taking collateral. This is verse 6. You took collateral from your brothers without cause, stripping off their clothes. And at 7, you gave no water to the thirsty and withheld food from the famished, while the land belonged to a powerful man and an influential man lived on it. You sent widows away empty-handed. And the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Therefore snares surround you, and sudden dread terrifies you, or darkness so you cannot see, and a flood of water covers you. He has no idea if Job's done these things. He's just throwing out accusations, assuming that Job is guilty. He kind of catches himself into 21 and says this, chapter 22, verse 21. Come to terms with God and be at peace. In this way, good will come to you. Receive instruction from His mouth and place His sayings in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be renewed. If you banish injustice from your tent and consign your gold to the dust, or the gold of Ophir to the stones of the wadis, the Almighty will be your gold and your finest silver. So he's sort of telling Job here to repent and turn back to God. The problem is Job's never turned away from God. What we've seen to this point is Job has constantly been just asking God for an answer. He's been seeking out and asking God, wanting to know why what has happened to him has happened. Job has been searching out after God this entire time. Yet here his friends, who apparently have not been listening to what Job's been saying, tell him, just come to terms with God and be at peace. right? They're challenging Job to go to God and just make peace with him. And Job this whole time has been trying to get an answer out of God. He doesn't really want to know what his friends are saying at this point. He's wanting an answer from God. And in the same way for us, when I think about this, when I'm studying through this and looking at it, there are times in our lives where we won't have the right answer for someone. And the only thing we'll be able to say is, go to God. Let's pray together. Let's seek out together. But the only way we're going to get an answer to this is if God gives it to us. And this entire time, Job's been looking for that answer. He's been seeking out that answer. When we think about what's going on right now. And the only one that's going to give us a clear, true answer is God. We've watched the news change over and over again concerning this virus, concerning other things going on in the world. The truth of the matter is, the only answer is going to come from Him. The only answer that is ever going to change is going to come from God, going to come from Jesus. So we get down to here, and we start at verse 23, Job's reply. It says, "Then Job replied, 'Today also my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. If only I knew how to find him, so that I could go to his throne, would plead my case before him.'" Right? Job's talked about this in the past, wanting to plead his case, but admitting the fact that if he had the opportunity to do this, he would be deemed guilty from the start. So he knows that he's guilty no matter what, just because he's human, right? Just in our human form, we are guilty in the eyes of perfection. In the eyes of the one who is perfect, our human form is broken and guilty. Job understood this. But I love what Job says in verse 8 to about 8 and 9. He says this, "If I go east, he is not there. If I go west, I cannot perceive him. When he is at work to the north, I cannot see him. When he turns south, I cannot find him. Yet," and this is into 10, "yet he knows the ways I have taken. And when he has tested me, I will emerge as pure gold." What Job is saying here is that just because Job can't see exactly what God is doing doesn't mean that God's not working. And church, it's the same way for us today. Just because we don't understand what God's doing doesn't mean He's not doing something. Just because we don't understand exactly what's going on or exactly how something's going to end doesn't mean that God's still not perfect. It doesn't mean that God's still not all-knowing. In fact, even more so, it means that He's all-knowing because He saw the end before the beginning. And Job here is saying that because he says, even in the midst of all of this where I can't see him, and then you get verse 10, "Yet he knows the ways I have taken, and when he has tested me, I will emerge as pure gold." Job knows that eventually this will pass, and that he will emerge better because of it. And church, I believe that for us today as we look at the situations going on around us, that if we hold the course, if we stay true to the faith that comes through a relationship with Jesus Christ, when we walk out the other side of this thing, we will be better for it. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to lose some folks along the way. Because we're going to drop off some few along the way. And I don't mean those that are going to pass away, because that's always heartbreaking for us. But what I mean here are there going to be those that said they were strong in the faith that fall off as we weather out the rest of this storm. There are going to be those that turn and walk away because they were never really saved. It goes to the parable of the sower. There are those that root up quickly and sprout up, but because they weren't planted in the good soil, wither away. And folks, there are going to be some that wither away. The challenge to us is to be like this, is to understand that even though we don't see what's going on, we don't know what God is doing exactly for sure, but we're going to trust Him enough to know that at the end of this, we'll be better for it. We'll be stronger for having endured what is happening. Now, Job doesn't know. Job doesn't know what's going to happen to him. Some of you, if you've studied Job, you know what the end is for Job, and we're going to get there in a few short weeks. But Job just knows it doesn't matter what it is. He just knows that if he weathers the storm, God's going to take care of it. And it's the same thing for us today, church. What do we take away from this? Well, we take away from this that exactly. That if we just weather the storm, endure the storm, trust that God knows exactly what He's doing, then the end will be worth it. And even if the end is that he just takes us all home, how great a reward would that be? That if he just raptured us all up today, took us home, brought us into heaven, brought us into glory, how would you not be okay with that as a believer? So we look at 24, and Job says this, why does the Almighty not reserve times for justice? This is chapter 24, verse 1. Why do those who know him never see his days? And then in the rest of this, Job sort of goes into the idea of what the wicked do. He talks about those that are murderers and thieves and how they rise at dawn and kill. Verse 14 says it directly. The murderer rises at dawn to kill the poor and needy, and then by night he becomes a thief. The adulterer's eye watches for twilight into 15, thinking, no one will see me. He covers his face. In the dark they break into houses, and by day they lock themselves in, never experiencing the light. What Job's doing here is he's sort of giving the idea of, these are the people that are wicked, and I don't fit the bill. Job's sort of here giving the idea of, this is what wickedness looks like, and it is nothing what I look like. But at the end, he says this, verse 25, he says this, if this is not true, after he goes through and talks about all of these things that the wicked do, he says, if this is not true, then who can prove me a liar and show that my speech is worthless? And what Job is saying there is that if he is like this, then who can prove him to be a liar? Who can show that what he's saying is worthless? What he's really getting at there is that the wicked show who they are through their actions. In church, those are true words, right? You may have heard it said before, one of the greatest struggles of the Christian church and growth is Christians. Because, church, I've said this before, we are horrible at killing our wounded. We're horrible at that. When one of our own seems to struggle or hurt, sometimes, man, we just attack. And we get judgmental, and we ostracize, and we hurt each other. When the truth is, all of us, broken, guilty, struggle. And in the midst of that thing, what are we supposed to do? Well, we're supposed to rally to each other and help each other grow and get better. The wicked show who they are through their actions. We think about that, church. In the same way, those that are of Jesus will show who they are through their actions. Church, it's how we work. We show who we are in Jesus by the way we live our lives. We show who we are in Jesus by the way we love not only on those that come into the church with us, but the way we love on those who haven't yet accepted Jesus. By the way we love on those who may not think like us, who may not act like us. Yet we love on them anyway because when we were like them, Jesus loved us and saved us just as he would willingly do for them and did do for them so many thousands of years ago. And even to this day, if they would simply fall on their knees and ask for his forgiveness and mercy, he would grant it like that. So, church, that's my challenge for all of us. Show who we are through our actions. If you listened to the Wednesday devotion in Thessalonians, I talked about that. I talked about let's be kind, let's show kindness. Let's show kindness and grace. Let's be encouragers. That's part of this, church. How do we show who we are? Well, we do those things. We show encouragement. We encourage people. We love on people. We show them the love of Jesus. We pray for them. We hug them when it's okay. We offer meals when necessary. We offer prayers constantly. We go above and beyond to serve. Even though the people don't think they're worthy, we're not worthy. We're not worthy of the gift Jesus offered for us, but he did it anyway. So my challenge, not only to myself, but to all of you, church, to show the love of Christ. Be an encourager. Be a doer of the word. Live up to the expectation that comes with a relationship of Jesus Christ and serve those around you. That's what I'm trying to do, church. With that in mind, let us pray. God, we just thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to come together to study your word. God, we just thank you for the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ. God, we pray that we as believers would live up to the example, that we would seek to serve those around us in your name, to advance your gospel, to preach your truth, so that those who don't know you could come to know you. God, we just thank you for giving us the gifts and the abilities and the blessings to do exactly that. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Church, we're looking forward to the days that we're going to see you back here. Remember, September 13th is when we are planning to reopen these doors. Again, though, a real quick, remember when we come back on the 13th, we're not going to have Sunday school. We're not going to open up the nursery. It's going to be like it was before. But we're going to ask you to sit with your immediate family, sit with those that you're living with, that you're around. We are encouraging you to wear a mask. We understand we cannot force you to do that, but we are highly encouraging you to wear that mask, keep it on, leave it on as best you can throughout the service. I've already told you, and I'm going to hold to this, other than preaching and talking from the pulpit, I will have a mask on the entire time, so I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. Remember, church, we love you. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that. If you or anybody around you is in need, let us know so we can do what we can to help. Until we see you again in person, stay safe. We'll see you soon.